Hey everybody. We're live. Whoa, this is so exciting. Oh, Joel's changed his lighting. It looks like we're live. This is Crossing the Streams. Thanks to everyone for joining us once again. Stats are in. We're number one in over 17,000 countries in over 62 states. So that's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. What states are you number one in, Bob?
Only 3. So you got me beat by like 59.
Well, it's us. We're all together, so we can all take it. So anyway, as you know, we start off every show with our theme song. We've got 2 amazing guests. I'm going to put Joel front and center. So he can kick off. Take it away, Joel.
All right. Here's the story of some lonely fellows who spend way too much time watching the TV. All of them have jobs and friends. Well, not really. Just between you and me.
They made a live show out of their hobby. Every TV watcher TV's watching Dream. Jeff Ronzak, Sal and Bob, and there's Howard. They call it Crossing Streams.
And then one day, they went live on all the platforms. You could hear the people laugh and shout and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platform. But man, we crossed the streams. We crossed the streams.
We crossed the streams.
We crossed
the streams.
We crossed
That's
the
the way we do it.
We crossed the
streams.
I'm applauding.
Oh,
on a 1 out of 10, that was maybe
So
a
good.
strong 3 for us.
So good.
It
good.
never
Maybe
ceases.
a strong 3.
I don't know.
Really?
The theme song is a big hit, everybody.
Talk it out.
Everybody loves it. Everybody loves the
theme song's sort of like, you don't need to watch this. Is that sort of the idea, just to lose them right away? Is that
No, the theme song is the concept of the theme song is that normally the shows, they say put a 30-second timer so you can get people to come to the show.
Oh, you're killing time.
And so it's the idea is like as
build
people
up,
are
yeah.
doing it in, they know they can just come late because nothing really happens till after the theme song, because I thought the 30-second timer was such a turnoff. So I created my own version of turnoff.
Wow.
That I thought would be more fun.
You should patent that idea.
Yeah, Bob. Anyway, we've got this clever banter is no accident. We've got comedian and world-renowned podcaster Joel Fragomeni with us.
Yeah.
Joel, talk to us. Tell us about your comedy. I want to hear all about your podcast. Tell the world.
Well, let's see. I guess the podcasting is probably what people would be more interested in. You know, as a comedian, I have a podcast, which you go, well, you're a comedian. You all have podcasts. Shut up about it. And Bob, that no offense against anyone in this room or Jeff, but I was, I believe, the first comedian that ever started a podcast. So back in 2005, we were talking about that before we signed on. Myself and Corey Hall, the late Corey Hall, were the first guys. We started a show, and in 2005, in the spring, when there was maybe a couple hundred podcasts in the whole world, just as a way, because we were trying to get on the radio, and we're kind of struggling with that. And I was like, well, let's try this internet thing. That'll get us somewhere. And it's 16 years later, and I don't really know that it got me anywhere, but I still do the show.
It got you on Crossing the Streams.
Oh, I'm blowing up now. JoelRadio.net if you want to listen to that. And I also produce the Comedy Castle podcast for Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, hosted by Tom McCarthy. I produce that every week. So
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Joel had fans across the world.
Yeah.
We used to do shows at a place called Club Bart, which doesn't exist anymore. And I remember there was one time you were doing a show, didn't someone from like, I might be making up the country, but somebody like Germany or something, come to the show.
The German superfan Niels flew in for 3 shows, I think, that we would do live shows at Club Bart. And I think we did the Comedy Castle. We did a roast at the Comedy Castle of us. And this guy would fly in like to watch us. And, you know, we felt bad. So we ended up just hanging out with him and buying him breakfast and stuff. Because, you know, who would do such an awful, rewarding his poor judgment, with pancakes. But yeah, that was cool. I mean, look, it's cool to have fans. I mean, you guys know that. And you're always surprised by where they come from. And, I always say in show business, you can't pick your fans.
Yes.
You can't. You want to have them, and then the ones you get, you better like. You can't choose who they are. So
wait, you have fans?
I got the one guy from Germany.
I'm jealous. You got one guy from Germany.
I got at least the guy from Germany, and I'm hoping to pick up 1.5 fans from this.
This show,
1.5. That's the over under.
We are huge.
I'll definitely.
Pushes.
Yeah, I'm easily a 0.5.
Yeah, that's please be the 0.5.
Oh, and we have a returning guest. Tim is back. Can you believe it? Tim agreed to come back. Also, he has a podcast, but not nearly as legendary as Joel.
Not nearly or clearly as cool as anything that Joel has been doing.
No.
Holy cow. Since 05, man, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's a lot of shows and did a lot of stuff and still doing it, still loving it. Yeah, I enjoy it. I've never tried to be the guy that's like trying to get rich off it or anything. So that's kind of been why I've been doing it. I think I'd be frustrated if I was trying to get rich off it because I don't think I'd be rich. So
you're rich in soul and happiness.
I don't know.
Tim, tell us about your podcast.
So I'm winding down season 2 of Focused on Forward. That's a mental health and wellness podcast that I do. I've got about 5 episodes left for this season, and it's going to go into hiatus for a little bit. I also do funny science fiction podcast, which I co-host with my friends Kathleen and Nick, and we've had the opportunity to have both Jeff and Zach on before, and had a lot of fun with both those guys. But we talk, it's strictly science fiction, superheroes, fantasy stuff like, Lord of the Rings, Superman, get into that kind of stuff. Sci-fi like Star Wars, Star Trek. And before any Star Trek kids' heads blow up, yes, Star Wars is space fantasy. So anyway, I fully acknowledge that, and I'm a Star Wars fan. And then we're starting a new one. We're starting a new show. Myself and Kathleen are starting a show called Pop Culture Addicts, and it's going to be a show where we talk about a little bit about everything. It's not going to be just sci-fi centric. We're going to be able to talk to, and we've already got some really awesome guests lined up. I'm really super excited. Some people that have been on some reality shows. I've talked to some people about getting some musicians on, a couple different things that have had a really big impact on our pop culture and the way we see things. And we're going to do some deep dive episodes where we talk about how different things, maybe even some things about how streaming networks have affected our pop culture and our view of it. So
cool. Very cool. And I do have some good news for Joel. You're up to 2 fans.
Oh,
Jason. So now you got a guy from Ohio and Germany.
Well, so, we still have time for me to lose those 2, right?
Well,
I think you've got
3.
You might actually have 3.
Well, if we're talking about Jason, he's from Ohio, you automatically have to deduct half a point for Ohio. So
oh
no.
I like to Lee said he's fun with a period. I love periods. Periods are so sarcastic.
And done.
I love it. We all have podcasts. But just so we can get through it, I have a podcast live from Detroit, the Jeff Dwoskin Show, pop culture interviews. Sal's got Sal and Bob Show with Sal, who's not here this week, and Zach, of course, Some Nobodies, and he's got about 15 podcasts that he does there. So you can check all those out. You have so much homework, everyone. So excited. So anyway, we got a great show for you. If you missed last week's show, episode 34, it's available on YouTube. Head over to YouTube or facebook.com/JeffIsFunny or search the Jeff Dwoskin Show on YouTube. You can find all current 34 episodes and soon to be 35. We talked about Woodstock 99, McCartney 321, Shot Caller, and the last Paradiso. It was a very exciting episode. This one is going to be even exciting-er. We got the Titans, we got Assault in the Ring, we're going to talk about Jungle Cruise, and we got Clarkson's Farm. So much fun to talk about today. But you know what we're going to do first? It's time for the Netflix Metrix.
Yeah! Wow!
I've been waiting for this.
I'm really
There we
starting to hate this project. There is really nothing good on Netflix a lot. But anyway, so if you don't know what I'm doing for whatever reason, I am trying to understand what this new category is that popped up on Netflix about 3 months ago. It's called the Top 10 in the US. I don't understand why it's there, but I decided to dive into it. There are 75 million people that have Netflix in the US. So whatever garbage they watched yesterday pops up on this thing today. So here is what showed up for me to watch today in the top 10 of the US. Number 10, we have The Flash, which is the 7 seasons of the CW show. Obviously, is created by Greg Berlanti. If you don't know Greg Berlanti, he created almost everything ever if it has the word nerd surrounded by it. Also created by Jeff Johns. This is, honestly, it's fine. It started off really good. The first 2 seasons are great. Around season 4, it just became some kind of soap opera where people just move quickly. So, yeah, watch the first 2. If you're into DC stuff or into superheroes, it's fine. Yeah, whatever. Number 9. We have a new movie that popped up here. It's called Resort of Love. Now, this movie, directed by Steven Shuchida, who is also the director of a couple episodes of Cobra Kai, which is very weird, written by Tabby McCartney. So this is about Erica, who ends up in the entertainment at her ex-fiance's wedding after reluctantly taking a gig at a luxurious island resort while in the wake of music career meltdown. So this thing is... not great. Stars Jay Farrow, Kanye, Lee Harrison, Christina Milan. It's pretty much a lot of terrible themes. It's very regressive, in my opinion. Spoilers, the women that they do this thing where they're constantly apologizing to manipulative men for doing stupid stuff. I absolutely had a horrible time with it, but some people find it fun. So skip it. Number 8, Virgin River. I talked about this for 2 weeks now. It is fine. Number 7, Love is Blind. This thing is real awful. So this is Love is Blind, After the Altar. This is a TV show, 14 episodes. I fast forward watched, hosted by Nick Lachey and his wife Vanessa. This is from couples. This is the couples that are from the show Love is Blind. They celebrate their wedding anniversaries. Capital F word, hate this show. Please don't even look at it. Number 6, Coco Melon. I'm having a love affair with this show now. So I'm going to keep watching this crazy thing for children. I don't know why people are still watching this, but now I am. Number 5, a brand new TV show called Top Secret UFO Projects Declassified just came out 2 days ago. 6 episodes. Now, through the claims of extraterrestrial encounters have long been dismissed, many believe the existence of UFOs is just not likely, but a certainty. This stars Stephen Bassett and Meryl Cook. So this is supposed to be a documentary where real footage is put into kind of fake things. There is literally 3% real footage in this, and all of that is in the very first episode. One of the worst UFO documentaries I've ever watched. For some reason, in real footage of UFOs, the CGI is terrible. So that lets you know something. I don't know. Number 4. The Losers. Now, this is a good comic book movie. Now, this is loosely based on an original DC property called The Losers, which is about a group of World War II soldiers. Whatever. It got rebooted slightly, and now it's about a CIA special force team that betrayed and left for dead by their superiors, galvanized them to mount an offense on the CIA. Now, this is directed by Sylvan White, who is the guy who directed Slender Man and a couple episodes of Umbrella Academy. Written by Peter Berg, stars Idris Elba, Zoe Saldana, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Chris Evans. So a gorgeous cast, obviously. So whatever. If you're into superhero stuff, it's good. It's a tight hour, 30 minutes. But I don't know, it's kind of dated. It's like right before any of the real good movies showed up, but whatever. Number 3, The Vault. I had a pretty good time with this movie. Brand new movie. Now, this is about Tom, and he is a genius engineer and graduated the bank. So pretty much this guy, Tom, is he's a safe cracker, but he finds this one that has a bank that is over 100 years old with no blueprints available. Directed by Wame Balagro, who did Quarantine. Written by Rafa Martinez, and it stars the kid who's Charlie from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and also the Onion Knight, if you're into Game of Thrones. It is fine. It's like those regular heist movies. It has a cool Spanish flair to it. So if you're into heist stuff, you should like it. Number 2, All American. Now I talked about this last week. Really cool football series with Tay Diggs in it. Love it. Number 1, Outer Banks. This is a absolutely terrible TV show. Pretty much like the OC if it were worse and well, even like poorly written. I really had a hard time with everything on Netflix today. So but yeah, out of all the garbage on there, watch The Losers if you want to. Other than that, really don't even put on Netflix today. And I apologize, but that is the Netflix that I came up with today from Netflix. So I'm sorry. Have a good day.
You had a rough day.
No,
Not good, man.
Harley.
No, iCarly with the reboot is on Paramount Plus. It's now on Netflix, so I don't have to ever think about that show. But yeah, this is not a good day for Netflix. Really,
the Outer Banks actually got a lot of negative press because I guess they did a scene with CPR.
Yep.
Completely horribly wrong.
Yeah, everything about this show is so bad. Everything on there is really, really bad. It's like people just put on Netflix, just let it roll, and then whatever trash Netflix wants to put on there is what pops up. But yeah, that's what I watched today. So
what's the name of the train wreck to avoid with Kanye in it?
That's the what was that? That's called Resort of Love.
Resort of Love. Yeah, I can't stay far enough away from that. Okay. Just need to know for sure.
It is. It's like this dude cheats on a girl and the girl's like, I'm so sorry that I wasn't better. Stay with me. And the guy's like, nah, I'd rather hook up with your best friend. And she's like, that's fine. I'll apologize for that tomorrow. It's really not fun.
Wow.
Speaking of resorts, did you read about the new Star Wars resorts? How much it costs to stay there for 2 days? Family of 4 for 2 days. You want to guess? $6,000.
Oof.
Wow.
For 2 days at this new Star Wars resort in Walt Disney World.
You would have to do the Kessel Run twice.
They took all the money they saved.
Well played, Bob.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, and I've always, and the many times I've watched Zach go through the Netflix Matrix, the thing that I've learned is that a show really isn't good if he just says it's fine. Don't watch it. Don't waste your time.
Yeah.
Zach's got in my opinion, Zach's got a pretty good handle on what's good, what isn't. And when he says it's fine, that's just him nicely telling you it's a piece of crap.
Yeah. They just don't exist. They like once you watch it, it's like I forgot I watched that. Like whatever.
And that's the lesson from the Netflix Metrix. If Zach only thinks it's fine, it's crap.
There you go.
Excellent
You're
takeaway.
welcome.
Excellent takeaway. Let's get into some TV shows. We're not really sure what's going to happen with Bob. We're in a snap, crackle, pop lockdown mode, but we're going to try and push forward. And we got Assault in the Ring, which the poster alone looks amazing. Can't wait to hear about this.
Yes. Bob.
Bob is king of the boxing.
Okay.
Shows.
Yeah, I'm a big boxing fan. Thank you, Jeff, for that intro. I love boxing. I love watching it. I love movies about it. I love documentaries. This one is a Showtime documentary about what at the time was an obscure fight, 1983. It took place on the undercard of the Roberto Duran-Davy Moore fight, and boxing fans remember that as the night that Roberto redeemed himself after 2 years after the No Mas debacle, where he quit against Sugar Ray. This was in Madison Square Garden, and Roberto knocked out the champion at that time and became middleweight champion. But it was on the undercard where the real interesting stuff occurred, and it was a fight between a guy named Louis Resto, who was an opponent. And in the boxing game, an opponent is a guy who's brought in to give a young up-and-coming fighter 8 or 10 rounds of work, but he's not supposed to win. It doesn't mean he throws the fight. He's just, he's brought in by the management because he's a good fighter and he's going to give the guy work, but he's not going to knock him out, right? So that's what Louis' job was that night. And the young up-and-coming guy was a guy named Irish Billy Collins from Tennessee, who was 15-0, was a knockout artist. He was just blowing the welterweight division away. And they were set for a 10-round fight. Well, it didn't go to script because the manager of Louis Resto was a classic villain, a true life villain, a guy named Panama Lewis, who was a real shitheel, and unbeknownst to anyone else on the Collins side, had taken out padding from Louis' gloves, taken out a substantial amount of padding. Back in those days, they were even in 1983. It was horsehair padding, and when he was getting gloved up in the dressing room, Panama Lewis took these gloves, took several ounces of padding out, put the gloves on them, sent him out to fight. Well, what happened in that ring was nothing short of murder, because Billy Collins took the beating of a lifetime. He was getting cut, he was getting bruised, he was getting I mean, if you see the pictures of him later on in this documentary, it's shocking, even from boxing standards, what happened to this kid. How
like
he
that,
managed
that
to
picture
finish
there.
10 rounds is anybody's guess. Great, I mean, just unbelievable courage. He kept going out round after round, and then at the end of the fight, Louis Resto went over and had given the decision, which was not supposed to happen, went over to congratulate the other Billy Collins corner and say, hey, good fight. And one of the cornermen in Collins' corner looked at the glove and said, hey, come here, and grabbed him by the hand. And Louis Resto tried to get away, and they said, no, you're staying right here. So it was from that moment on, they realized that these gloves had been tampered with, and a big crime had been committed in that ring. Later on, and I'm just condensing this because I can talk all night about boxing. The tragedy didn't end in that ring. It went on to claim Billy Collins' life 9 months later, because he couldn't fight anymore. He'd had a detached retina, a torn, I forget the name of it, iris, from being hit in the eye, from a glove that had the padding taken out of it. And he sort of spiraled into drinking and realized that his career was essentially over because of this one fight. So he went driving one night with a friend of his and told his friend, I got nothing to live for, and I'm going to end it, with his friend in the car. They drove off an embankment. Billy Collins was killed instantly. His friend survived. But the investigation into that really heated up after Billy Collins' death, and they found that Panama Lewis was an utter scumbag. He was convicted and spent 2.5 years in jail. Louis Resto also was convicted of a lesser charge, accessory, and spent, I think, maybe a little less than 2 years in jail. So this is all put out there very quickly in this documentary. That all happens within the first 15, 20 minutes. The fascinating part of it is how the documentarians take Louis Resto sort of under their wing and take him through this sort of attempt at redemption. They ask him what really happened. They give him a chance to say, I did this, I was a part of this. He denied. They take him for a meeting with Panama Lewis in Florida, something like 25 years after the fact. Neither of these two have seen or spoken to each other. Louis Resto breaks down and says, who took the padding out of the gloves? Like he didn't know. And Panama Lewis is, like I said, he's a scumbag. He died last year, by the way, probably 27 years too late, but he never admitted anything. And I'm not going to tell you the end of this documentary, but it weaves and bobs. It takes you through all kinds of emotions, from sadness to different levels of sadness. There's nothing elating about this thing, but it's very interesting. If for the casual boxing fan, it introduces you to the underside of boxing, how things can get done in the dark, which frequently happens in this sport. But it's the tale. It's not really Billy Collins's tale. It's Louis Resto's tale, because he's the guy that survived, and all the guilt and all the shame and all the, the horrible life that he led afterward. But there is some moments of uplift in it, and I recommend it to anybody who's looking for something interesting and off the beaten path.
There's a lot of drama in all these boxing movies you bring up.
Huh?
Would you say boxing is the most dramatic sport? It seems that there's no other documentary series of a sport that is as crazy as the ones you bring up about boxing.
Yeah, I mean, I like.
You can't hear a word I'm saying, can you?
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes,
No, yeah, you're fine.
Obviously, I have a love for the sport because I competed in it a long time ago, not at that level, but I still, my sons both fight, and I love watching the fights, and there's nothing I like more than sit down or actually be at a live fight, which is the most fun. So yeah, it's a very interesting sport filled with lots of colorful characters. There's a deep dark side, and it pops up every now and again in stories like this one.
Very cool. All right, that is on Showtime, Assault in the Ring. All right, let's turn our attention to our guest Joel's pick, Clarkson's Farm, an Amazon original. I've not heard of this one. I'm excited to hear.
You've not heard of this? Do you know who Jeremy Clarkson is, Jeff?
I don't.
He's the host of the Grand Tour, which is also on Amazon Prime. He was the host of Top Gear for years and years. He hosts Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in the UK right now. So he's a very big, he's a very big celebrity worldwide. The car shows have not been a giant hit in the US. Maybe there may be a little more of what we call a cult show, but in the rest of the world, they're like, some of the they said that when he was doing Top Gear, that was the biggest television show in the world as far as the weekly viewers. He got fired from Top Gear for smacking a producer in the face because a steak was not ready for him after a day's shoot, apparently. Which I know that doesn't do much to get you to watch the show, but let me continue. So he's kind of got this very abrasive personality, very opinionated about cars and really everything. And while those other shows were car shows, this is a documentary, and I'm going to put that in sort of air quotes if you can see that, because Top Gear and the Grand Tour are sort of documentary-ish shows where a lot of it is set up, but it's funny. It's a comedy, and this show is as well, where he owns a farm in the English countryside, and rather the guy who I forget what the backstory is, the guy who was farming it retired, and so Jeremy wants to learn how to be a farmer, and so you have that fish out of water element where you have this big city guy in this farming town trying to learn how to run a tractor and all this farming equipment. And he has to hire on some locals to help him work on the farm. And there's a lot of conflict that goes on there, but it's all very funny. If you know and have enjoyed those other shows that Jeremy was on, this one has a very similar feeling as far as the comedy goes. A lot of, well, we need a tractor to do this job. So Jeremy gets a Lamborghini tractor. It's sort of that was the whole Top Gear thing. They would try to, take vehicles that were inappropriate for the ride, use something else. The latest Grand Tour that just came out this past week, has them driving 1970s American cars across Scotland. So that was really good. That's called Lockdown, by the way. Grand Tour Lockdown. But anyway, so Clarkson's Farm is sort of that fish out of water element. People are really liking the show. I found a lot of the reviews are saying that it's Jeremy being a little more warm and fuzzy than he normally is, which, if you know his personality, is sort of it's a little bit, it actually, and you really do care about these people. I think it's 8 episodes, and you see Jeremy trying to learn how to, plant crops. He buys a bunch of sheep. He has to figure out how to impregnate said sheep, and he's at livestock auctions. And
Bob's like, I know how to do that.
Yeah, well, hey,
animal husbandry and boxing.
It's just a lot of. I mean, it definitely is a documentary about farming. a series about farming, which you may say, I'm not interested in that at all, but it's great. And, he opens a little store with his girlfriend to sell the stuff that they're farming. And, of course, they go through COVID during this as well. They go through the biggest flooding that England had ever seen, which sort of decimates his whole farming thing, which he doesn't know what he's doing anyway. The supporting cast, like I said, the locals are very entertaining. There's a guy named Gerald, who is a local farmer who speaks in a dialect that the English people can't understand this guy. And so you really, and I think at some point they do just subtitle this guy, and other times they just leave it where you literally don't know what this guy's saying. And then his assistant is a kid named Caleb, who's 21 and knows everything about farming, but has never left his hometown. So you have that sort of hayseed rube, really putting Jeremy in his place, which is some of the funniest stuff on the show. It's him telling Jeremy he doesn't know what the hell he's doing farming. It's just really great. I mean, if you don't know Jeremy Clarkson, so much of what he does on television is just based on that character he's created after all these years. And I actually think even if you don't know that, you still probably enjoyed the show because he really is an entertaining fella to watch. I can't get enough of him. Anything he does, I watch and I enjoy. So yeah, if you want to know a little more about farming and the economics of it, there's a guy, Charlie, who is sort of the guy that's advising his business affairs. And I think I forget what they call. I could look it up, but it's whenever Charlie shows up, it's bad news, and Jeremy's pissed off. It's got sort of that, almost like that Office vibe where the boss shows up, and you're just like, oh god. Not this guy, it's like he's like the Toby, and Jeremy's trying to have fun and this guy's showing up. Well, Jeremy, I said, Bali's not looking so good this year. I'm not going to do a terrible British accent, but it's a very entertaining show. I really enjoyed it and watched all 8 episodes, like probably one a day. Knocked that out. It just came out in June, so it hasn't even been out long. So.
Are they 30-minute episodes or hour?
No,
long?
I think they go between about 40 minutes and an hour, something like that. It's sort of that British hour, right? 90 minutes. But the British hour shows have no commercials. Not that Amazon does, but it's sort of got that format. But yeah, it's great.
I'm enjoying your lighting, Joel.
Do you enjoy the lighting? Thank you.
I
put effort into this
rave or something like dead.
Well, I have a little. I can change the colors of the lights if you have any requests, Bob.
Do you have pink?
Do you want pink? I'll hold on a second. I'll give you pink.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys are interested in the show I picked.
No, it does sound really good. I love hearing about it. Top Gear and stuff like cars.
There you go.
So I never watched them.
Pink.
Yeah, I'm not a car guy whatsoever, but I love Top
nice.
Gear.
That's
love
great.
Top
Exactly.
Gear.
Yep.
And like the Grand Tour is like that plus like a little bit more because you can tell that like they're doing it on their own without the producers.
Yeah.
So having Jeremy Clarkson like try to learn farming, I'm 100% in. I'll definitely check it out. I think that's very cool.
Check it out. You'll enjoy.
He's so annoying at everything anyway. So
he's just he's a curmudgeon. He's pissed off at the world. And
he knows everything. Yeah,
he thinks he knows it all, and of course he knows nothing about farming. And he learns, and you might even, you get invested in him and his crops and his sheep, and it's very entertaining. Well, I'll give you an example of his sense of humor.
Sure.
He has to have 2 bull sheep, so all of the sheeps are lady sheep. He has 200 lady sheeps. And he has to get 2 sheeps that go around impregnating the other sheeps. So he names these sheeps. Again, if you don't know a lot of British sports culture, man, I get it. One is Wayne Rooney, is one of the sheeps, and the other is Leonardo DiCaprio. So if you know their reputations, you would understand why he named the sheep what he did. So
that's too funny.
Yeah, good stuff. Really funny and kind of touching. I hate to say that I was touched by Jeremy Clarkson, pun intended, but I definitely was.
That's the headline.
Yeah, I was touched by Jeremy. And by the way, I will mention that we talked about him, I think, before we went live, but the late great Corey Hall met Jeremy Clarkson. in Detroit here. They were
nice.
shooting a part of the Grand Tour, and Corey called me and he goes, because he knows we both liked, Top Gear and all that. And he goes, I met Jeremy Clarkson. He was an asshole. And I go, but isn't that what you want? Isn't that
Yeah.
That's what you want to happen if you meet him. You want him to be annoyed that you recognized him. That's perfectly appropriate. So everyone should check out Clarkson's film. It's on Prime. Everyone's and also a thing that I like, and again, if you like those other shows, you'll know the quality of like the video and the sound and just the way they shoot these shows. It's incredible. It's beautiful. Really well done.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds like we've got some homework. Thanks, Joel.
I'm convinced. I'm going to watch it, Joel.
Please
I'll be-
do,
yeah.
Bob. I think you dig it.
I'll be checking.
You
out
and
as well.
Jeremy, not that you guys would get along. I think if you guys ever got the chance to hang out, I could see you.
Am
two
I
hanging out.
annoying? Am I?
No.
annoying like
I
that?
think he enjoys a nice. I think he enjoys a nice beverage like you do, and
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
And Bob would enjoy learning to farm. I think that's what
Yeah.
he meant. You just said that I'd like to learn the farm vibe. Yeah.
I think we're gonna have the sequel is gonna be the Phillips Farm, where Bob gets some land and starts growing crops.
Hey,
And that would also
funny
be a good show.
We should be talking about farming. I just wrote a new joke today. You want to hear it?
Sure.
Yeah.
About farm. Okay. Here's how you know you're working a casino. Oh, this is a stand-up comedy joke. This is how you know you're working a casino in Iowa. When the progressive slot prize is not an amount, it's a tractor. I don't farm. The last time a guy who looked like me farmed, it was Green Acres. But boom, there you go.
I like it. It's gonna hit in Iowa.
I think it's gonna be huge.
And in Hooterville.
So my wife just messaged me. She said, "I know the show he's talking about. The guy's a jerk."
Yeah,
She
exactly.
says it's a car wreck and you can't stop watching it.
It's fantastic.
So my wife agrees with you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see what else Tim can talk about besides what his wife enjoys.
All right, honey, I need you to text me on this one too. Let's go.
So here we got Titans, the HBO Max show, originally on the DC, I believe, and that streaming thing they did, and then came to HBO Max, about to enter its third season. Who did we lose? Oh, we lost Bob.
I think we lost to Bob.
All right.
He's farming. He's winning that.
He was not interested in Titans. You guys have already covered this in a previous episode. He's like, "Yeah, I'm done." So yeah, back in episode 14, some guy you had on here named Jeff DeWaskin talked about this. But so I went back and I watched your analysis, Jeffrey, and so there's some of the things. No, Jerry did not win. So here's the thing with Titans. So if you're interested, you're a big DC fan, you like comic books, you love the fact that Dick Grayson grew up, got to not be Robin anymore, got to be Nightwing, and you want to see that play out, then you're like, yes, I want to watch Titans. The problem with Titans that I have is that it's a high school drama with an occasional superhero suit being thrown into it. And I can already tell that Zach might disagree with me. So now the action scenes are great when they're there. There's a lot of out of costume stuff. I'm not a big fan of Hawk and Dove. I don't mind Dove. Don't really care for Hawk. I wish that Aqualad would have been around a little bit longer than 2 episodes. I really liked his character. I like the fact that they've included Beast Boy, Gar, but I didn't like the fact that they benched him for most of the show, the first 2 seasons, and they only let him ever be a tiger. And I was like, if you watched any of the episodes of the cartoon or anything else, you know that he could be far more than a tiger. And so you kept waiting for that to happen. Like, okay, so I kind of assumed as the show was progressing that was all he knew how to do, and that his time with the Titans, they train him how to hone that in. So I'm kind of hoping that still happens with season 3, which starts, I believe, next week, Thursday. So I'm hoping that that's the case, because if it is, then Beast Boy becomes a much more interesting character. And I was the thing that was disappointing me the most about the Dick Grayson story arc is that we didn't see Nightwing earlier, especially after. I mean, there's 2 seasons out. If you haven't watched it already, I'm not really giving you a spoiler, but he destroys his his Robin suit rather. And so I figured that the Robins, that was going to be the transition right there to go from he wasn't sure what he wanted to be, what he wanted to do. I figured an episode or 2 of him hating Batman and moving through. By the way, if you have small kids and you're like, yay, well, they love Teen Titans Go, do not let your small children watch this. It is, I mean, I shouldn't say that, but I would strongly suggest against it. There's heavy language. There is some gore. There's some intense battle scenes.
The characters have sex together. So
I was wondering if they
really-
do it
Together.
Yeah.
I was going to watch, but not now.
There's no animal husbandry, so you're good.
That's the best. Robin has who's it with Starfire?
Corey. Yeah, Starfire. And that's the other thing.
It was pretty hot,
I don't
but, yeah.
I don't like the actress that they have playing Starfire, Corey Anders. I have no problem with the fact, because when it was written, when the first show came out, a lot of people had a problem with the fact that it was a black woman. That's not my problem. I just don't like her as an actress. I feel like there's so much in Starfire's character that she's not bringing to the table. And I didn't like the fact that she was. Okay, so let me put it this way. I didn't like the original Suicide Squad and their version of Joker because I called him Pimp Joker. I didn't like that Joker. Yeah, it's a thing, Zach. It's a thing. So
Zach wants to. You better let Zach jump in before you go down too far a hole, or we can't get out of either one.
So, but I didn't like him because it was the really bad suits, the gold chains, and just it's just the kind of sleazy pimp Joker. I didn't care for it, and I kind of felt that she was the opposite version of that, but in female. And so I just didn't like season 2. She came around. She's much better in season 2 than she was in season 1. I liked her much better. Anyway,
I didn't.
Zach's dying to say something, so I'll
go first, Zach. I never watched the cartoon. I don't know if that character is white, black, green, but I thought I liked her. I thought she was pretty badass, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she was really cool. I had nothing to go on, but like other than just watching the show and enjoying it, but when I could. But her was not any. I never had a problem with her. I liked her kind of story.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not a problem with her being a black woman because in the cartoon,
didn't say that.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I'm just reaffirming that because in the cartoon, she's
why? Why do you have to reaffirm that?
Yeah,
you pretty much called her a prostitute, I guess, because she is not because she's a black person. A, she is probably the best actor on the show. B, if you do follow the cartoons, Starfire is just a white, stupid princess who is from a different, planet, and she has no idea what things are on Earth. That is boring. The character here, and actually every character in this show, is really just people trying to figure out who they are as human beings while also being superpowered. Nobody goes to school. There's no high school drama here. Everything about your critique, unfortunately, is incorrect. The reason that Gar cannot turn into other animals, if you watch the show, is because he's psychologically traumatized with his favorite animal being a tiger, and he has to work past that trauma. So this is a lot about mental trauma, being a fish out of water, and not because she's a black girl. She is literally the best character on the show. Gar's a terrible actor. The girl who is whatever the witch, awful
Raven.
actor. Raven, yeah, awful actor. Starfire was the only storyline that I wanted to follow whatsoever. Yeah,
and I'll disagree with you. I actually really like Gar. I like his character. I like everything about him. I know that there's some trauma there, and I know that he's working past it. I have watched the show. I just didn't care for the fact that they didn't move past that earlier. I don't like it's taken them so long to develop anything with Beast Boy, and then there's the fact that I can't remember the name of the the company right now that developed the Superman Lex Luthor crossover, baby. But you know, for Connor, I know his name is Connor. That's all I can remember.
Cadmus.
Cadmus, thank you. You know, but that seemed to develop more with him than we saw in almost 2 seasons with him, in my opinion.
I don't know.
And
I think the whole thing is about mental trauma and people getting over the trauma of whatever they're dealing with. I think that you downplayed it to make it sound like a CW show with sex, and that's not accurate. I don't think the portrayal of the Joker as a pimp is accurate. Gangster, maybe, sure. Pimp would portray someone that is collecting money off of sex working, and I don't think I got anything off of that. And I don't know why you said Corey reminds you of a prostitute. That was weird, but sure. Hey, your opinions. I like the show.
Well, that's fine.
Joel, have you seen the show?
I have not, and I feel like maybe you guys aren't even watching the same show. But
well, we're definitely watching it from different angles.
I guess so.
And that's fine.
And with superhero stuff, I kind of dip in and out of it, and I pick and choose what I watch because there's just so much of it. And I mean, even like this Loki, I haven't even finished yet. And, you know, I don't know. I watch The Boys, and that's pretty good. I feel like that gives me. I feel like some of these, they're all kind of becoming the same thing anyway, aren't they? I don't know.
Well, with all that being said, I am looking forward to season 3.
Well, that's good. Well, it's nice that they committed to that show, right? Because it was on DC Universe, which they got rid of.
Well, you know,
it must feel like people are watching it.
Yeah, and it is. It has a following. And
but
I know that
stuff's so expensive to make that if people weren't watching it, I think they get rid of it.
They wouldn't have carried on.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it does have a cool crossover to Doom Patrol, which I have not watched yet. But I will be watching that shortly. But I'm interested to see what they do with the transfer of Jason Todd into Red Hood, how that carries out, because it looks like they're finally going to address the white elephant in the room, the Batman issue, because they talk a lot about Batman, and there's some references to Batman, especially in some like altered state dream sequences for Dick Grayson. And I like the fact that I think that this is going to have to be addressed at some point this season, because if you watch the trailers, there's a Joker laugh, and that means that probably Red Hood's going to die this season. Jason Todd will get killed by the Joker, and if that's the case, then we have a whole new storyline, and then it becomes really interesting if that's the case. I like the fact that they're bringing in Barbara Gordon. I like the fact that they're going to bring in Blackfire's or Starfire's sister, Blackfire, excuse me. So and see how that drama plays out. I said I liked her better in the second season. Calm down.
So
I just didn't like her in the first season. I didn't like her at all.
Yeah,
I enjoyed
Blackfire, bad character.
I enjoy Titans. I do think it could have. I feel like they had to fill the episodes. They could have been a tighter, I think, thing. The only other issue I really had was what's Wonder Woman's sister's name?
Donna
Troy.
Donna. So, can we say what happens to her? Or is that like a spoiler?
Well, it's the last season. You mean the way that she dies?
So she dies. Okay, but this girl gets stabbed 50 times by the bad guy and lives. And then at the very end, when everything's over, they go out of their way to have this thing fall, and she kind of saves and gets a little electrocuted and dies. And I was just like, and then they kind of imply that they're going to bring her back. I'm just like, I wish they just killed her the other way or something. Like let her. It just seemed like they just kind of forced that. That was like, we need a big ending, because the big ending we just finished. We need to kind of just do anyway. It's one of those shows I enjoy. It's not like I passionately watch it. We got one more movie to talk about, but it seems like everyone needs to check it out for themselves. It seems like,
and she's in the advertising for season 3.
It seems like Zach and I maybe agree more than than what we think Tim does. But hey, everyone can go check it out for themselves. But in the meantime, let's turn to lighter fare and go with the Jungle Cruise. So I had the, shall I say, how do I take? Sorry, it's hard doing the thing and running it. So I watched the Jungle Cruise. Let me say off top that the running joke in my house, first of all, I love Disney World. It's my favorite place to go in the world. Love it. My running joke in the house is, and it has always been, that one day I hope to make enough money that I can retire and be a Jungle Cruise director. Did not make that up for this century. That is the literal thing. If you ask my wife, Joel called my wife right now, she would say, I think, like,
I won't be doing that, but yeah. Okay.
You're not going to do it. I was just saying, for dramatic effect. Effect. And, the whole idea, hey, who knows what kind of snake that is? Starts with the P, plastic. All right. Well, yeah. So anyway, so the movie, I really enjoyed like the first 10 minutes of the movie. It seemed like to be like this kind of Indiana Jones kind of throwbacky type movie. It was moving real quick. Emily Blunt, I love. The Rock was good. He's like he's the Jungle Cruise director, and he's doing every freaking joke from the actual Jungle Cruise. Like they just took it right out of the script that the people do at the park, and then it sort of morphs then into this whole adventure. So it's like this Raiders of the Lost Ark, Pirates of the Caribbean type kind of mashup, I thought, and turns into this whole thing. Emily Cruz hires Dwayne Johnson's character Frank, and then they go and they're in search of a flower that can cure all for revolutionize medicine as we know it. So I don't really want to give anything away because it's brand new, and if I kind of give the twist, that I don't think that would be fair. But the movie didn't. If I never saw the movie, I would have been fine. But I'm not worse off for having seen the movie, if that makes sense. It was enjoyable as this movie probably should. It was probably more enjoyable than this movie should have been. But it wasn't it's not gonna, I don't think, go down as like one of those classics of all time. It wasn't as good as Pirates of the Caribbean, the original Pirates of the Caribbean, which I think was great, but it wasn't an embarrassment either. Like, I understand the Haunted Mansion maybe was.
Yeah, well,
okay.
There's more rides to make into movies, aren't there, Jeff? There's
right.
There's still
Can't
more.
Wait for that's Small
there.
World and Teacups ride. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
The horrible thing about this one is that they'll probably try and force a sequel. Yeah. And it kind of ends and kind of wraps up one of the things that, one of the kind of mysteries. And then, but now they'll probably just kind of, now we got to solve this mystery, kind of become like a Raiders of the Lost Ark thing. But there is a running joke, which they even run this joke out. She wears pants, and they make a joke about Emily Blunt's character because women didn't wear pants at this time. They make a couple jokes. There's a couple funny laughs about it, but then they make the same joke about 50 more times. So I may have tuned out at some point during the movie and then kind of snapped back into it. So that's the kind of thing in terms of it felt very familiar. It wasn't very. I don't know. I'm not giving it.
Did you see it all coming? I mean, did they telegraph the stuff? Because Disney's kind of,
yes,
it's
for the
pretty
most
predictable.
Part. There was a couple of
live action stuff.
There was maybe one. I think the one. There's one twist with one of the characters. Maybe I didn't totally see.
Yeah.
But then you're like, oh, okay. So they pulled it together. I think it's it's hard to talk about it without talking about it. But if you have to see it, it's not the worst thing if your kid wants to go see this movie. You're not going to totally hate yourself.
Well, they put all the big stars in these Disney movies now, and then they have them kind of do nothing. It's really, I saw that Cruella movie that came out. I guess it was this summer, right? Yeah, with Emma Stone. And it's like, I forgot it an hour after it was over. I mean, it's just nothing. And they spend $1 billion on these movies, and it's just like something to put on for 2 hours. It's not even, and it's all these great people that if they gave them a script and a good idea would probably make a great movie. And it's just junk. It's just content. It's just something to put on and keep your kids entertained, I guess, and
Yeah.
for Disney to make money. And it's kind of depressing if you think about it. The potential of what could be great with these things is there, but it feels like there's not a lot of emphasis on really making these things great. It's trying to make money.
Does it seem like a franchise like starter? Like they're trying to build this thing into something, or is this a one-off?
Well, it's one of those things where all the passion behind the why they were doing what they were doing was very specific. So for them to then come up with a new spark and passion to go and risk your life for, it was very clear reason why they were doing this particular journey.
Yeah.
So, I don't know that they would have to just make it up for the next one. I mean, I will say Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt, hilarious together. They were great. Jesse Pearsons, who from like Breaking Bad and other things, he was in a Black Mirror episode, is the bad guy. He's really good. Everyone's good in it. Like Joel was kind of just saying, but it's just, that makes it enjoyable enough. But
right, it's pleasant enough to watch, but yet
exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking of being pleasant, Joel, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Why don't you remind everyone real quick your name of your podcast?
Yeah, Joel Radio. It's at joelradio.net and on all the services. So go check that out. It's just me talking with whoever happens to be around. A lot of the pandemic was spent talking to my girlfriend Layla, so she's kind of been my regular kind of co-host through this whole thing. And but yeah, and I also review a lot of TVs. I review TVs and movies every week on the show for the most part. So I do lots of this kind of stuff. So if you like this, you'll probably enjoy that.
Awesome.
So thanks for having me, Jeff.
Great to have you. Tim, wrap it up, buddy.
I'm Tim from Funny Science Fiction. I offer bad movie reviews and things that Zach doesn't like. Come check it out sometime. It might be fun.
Zach, say goodnight.
I don't like a lot of things. Honestly, go check out Focused on Forward. Phenomenal podcast. I stand behind that, and I will always fight for that thing. So go watch that. And goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye. And I'm Jeff Dwoskin, host of Live from Detroit, The Jeff Dwoskin Show. Come back here every Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time for more Crossing the Streams. We'll see you next time. And that has been another episode of Crossing the Streams. Join us every Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Facebook and YouTube. Follow The Jeff Dwoskin Show on YouTube to be alerted every time we go live with your hosts, Jeff Dwoskin, Ron Lippett, Howard Rosner, Bob Phillips, Sal D'Amelio, Zach Wiseman. We're all in the socials. Follow us. Listen to our podcasts, Live from Detroit, The Jeff Dwoskin Show, The Sal and Bob Show, and Some Nobodies. Check them all out, and we'll see you next week and every week when we cross more streams right here. See you then.